Hi everyone, it's Sally here, also known as Studio Rat. I just finished a new journal. This is the biggest one I've ever made. I'm calling it my Gypsy Journal because I used all these colorful fabrics. Some I had already, and I got one of these rugs like this that are imported from India, and if you look at them, I mean, there's some pretty cool fabric in there. So I took a lot of this rug apart already, and I have like all these pieces that came from it. So some of it is in this cover, and I also use it for other things. The strap is made of fabric I got in the rug. And so it has a soft fabric cover. I used some quilting batting. That's what it's called. Just make it soft. So it has, so the stitching I did on muslin, and then I ironed on some of that softer, thinner batting. And then I put this fabric on top, which is just some old fabric I had. I'm sure it's vintage. Let me just see if I'm in frame here. Okay, this is pretty good. So this is the biggest thing I've ever made. I counted the pages. There are 160 pages. If you count both sides, that's 320. It has 3 signatures. And each signature has a lot of pages in it. I started each signature off with some fabric that I had. This was, hold on, just let me check again. Okay. This was a little sample book of fabric. I think it was curtain fabric. And I liked the fabric, so I bought it at a yard sale. And then I stitched it to some tea-stained parchment paper to give it a nice crinkle. So I'm just going to try to flip through fast because there's so many pages. Napkin collage on sheet music. Lots of little stitched elements. A sack with a tag I made and an old postcard. I'm calling this my Gypsy Journal because the fabric just makes me think of a gypsy, and I do have some neat images of gypsies in here. This is from an art book. It had a lot of nice white space on it for writing on the backside too. Not so many children's books as I usually use, but this page came from a children's book, and it's just so cute with the twins. This is the sand fairy. It's the same fabric that I use on the tie. I did some heat embossing. So a lot of these pages have that on there. I like adding that next little bit of texture. I did the heat embossing before I put it together, so because otherwise it's kind of difficult to use your heat gun on your book. Just a neat picture I found on Pinterest, framed by a book page, which was called The Wildling Princess. Every page in the book had this frame on it. I've used it before. Spray inks. This was a book jacket, and I liked the pictures on it, so I used a couple of different book jackets in this in this new journal. This is that handmade lock to paper that comes from Nepal, and I just stitched a pocket with a neat old postcard and a little art print. I like this picture from the story, Little Snowdrop. There's a map, and there's one of those gypsy pictures I found. And this tag I made from a paint sample. There were paint samples that had like pictures of butterflies or oranges. This one had actually a green blanket on it to show the different colors. And then I collaged some paper towel that had paint on it on there, and it just looked like sky. So then I added this little piece of scrapbook paper, which I had used to punch out some flowers, and the whole thing looked like a little valley or something. And then so I added that little butterfly. I like the way that came out. Gessoed paper with some tissue paper collage. I use a lot of different kinds of paper. I'm always looking for neat letterhead or stationery or papers that have nice cotton content. That one is. Another one of those gypsy girls. This one's old graph paper. These are some of those Chinese love poems from that book that I just love, and I always try to put a little bit of them in each of my journals. Just a little stitching. Old greeting card split open so you can write on the inside. This was heat embossed with gold embossing powder. More napkin collage pocket with a little tag I made of, it's got a neat bird that I cut from a greeting card and some napkin collage on the back. This is a book jacket. So see, it folds out. And greeting card, the inside part of a greeting card. And this little, I put these little guys on the strings. Here's the rest of that jacket. Another book page with napkin collage. Heat embossed. Just a corner of a little greeting card, which I just stitched on. Could be used maybe as a tuck spot. Gessoed paper with tissue paper collage. This little Valentine, which has a gypsy on it. Won't you be my gypsy sweetheart? So that's kind of like how I got my theme, was looking at this Valentine. And I like how that came out with all the red. This is a lot more colorful than most of my journals. I usually like the neutral colors. That's a map. This postcard actually has stitching on it. You can feel the lace there and the shawl. And just a little print of two little girls playing with a kitty cat. That's more of that book jacket, which I decorated a little bit. I love this picture here of this old woman braiding her hair. Just thought it would be neat to put it in here. I made some, did some little decoupage pieces on tea-stained parchment paper, napkin collage. And I did a bunch of them one time, and I like using those. You can stitch them because they're pretty strong. I think I saw Gail Augustini do something like that. So just some extra paper from an old greeting card stitched on there. In this bag, end of the bag, there's a postcard and an art print. That's, I think, Chagall. Just a little tab from that, you know, decoupaged parchment. So there's the first signature, and here's the second one. Beautiful print from an old book. This is a envelope, and inside is a playing card. This pretty lady and an art print. It's Joan of Arc. something I printed onto some tea-stained tracing paper. This is a page from a magazine. It had so much white, so I thought it would make some nice writing space. Page from an art book. I folded it over and turned it into a pocket for this tag I made. Another envelope, which I lined with some colorful paper. It's got these two cards here inside. These are like self-affirmation cards. I accept my uniqueness. It's kind of cool. And the Empress tarot card. Alice in Wonderland napkin. It's a little piece I cut out of a greeting card. It's like I get these old cards, and I just love to just cut the little pictures out of them. It's kind of fun. Just when I'm sitting with nothing else to do, I like to do a little cutting. That's an Easter card. And here's the center of the second signature, which I added an extra thread just for a little reinforcement. I wasn't sure how strong that thread was that I was using. I used the six full strands of embroidery floss, but this book is heavy, so I just added an extra bit of string there. There's a pocket I made, and in it has a little notepad, just with some writing paper and some little bit of coloring book paper too. A little paper flower on the cover. And, oh, a tag, just a simple tag. There's not much to it. I thought about putting some kind of a person on the cover, but I just kind of liked it plain. This tag is pretty wild. I used some of that fabric I got from the rug and just kind of weaved it in there. That folds out. Just a book. It's a German book about old buildings. I like this statue. Some neat pictures in that old German book. And here we have another art print and this playing card, which has this Hawaiian lady. Beautiful picture. I got a bunch of playing cards from a lady who's also a paper collector, and she's kind of clearing out her stash, so I just got a big stack of assorted playing cards. They're all different. Another beautiful print from an old book. And I'll tell you, working with this was not easy. I wished I had not used it for the covers of my signatures, because it scooched around and wrinkled, but I still like the look of it. That's the rest, another book jacket. That opens up. And this was an envelope. And I got these really neat postcards. They're actually from France. And they're really, really old. Even has a French postage stamp. And I got them from that same lady that was kind of cleaning out her stash. And then this little cute little page from a juggling book. And there's Frida. Ledger paper. This is just an old birthday card. Octopus from my neat fish book that I have. Algebra book with some heat embossed gold on there. New stamp I got. Really like that stamp. This had a picture of flowers in that heart, but I just stuck that picture in instead. And there's some more of my collaged parchment paper. And this old greeting card. I covered the back up because it actually came from an old scrapbook, and it had like little pieces of, you know, black and purple paper that had been glued to, which I couldn't get off, so I just stitched that on. Some ruffled tissue. I love this napkin. This is just adds a nice bit of bright color any place, and you can just take a little section of it and use it. So pretty nice napkin. A lot of pages in here. It's almost kind of unwieldy because it's so thick. So this is the rest of the octopus page, which I think I love the octopus. I didn't like the way this stitching looked on the back, so I made a tuck spot and made this little tag here with the mermaid. And I glued a card onto the back of this. And here's another little pocket with an art print and another old postcard. 1911. Just a little bit of a doily stitched on there. This is from another art book. I think like these art books that have lots of white space, so there's writing room in there. Coloring page. Book jacket. I added this butterfly trim to it just to kind of extend it out a little because it was kind of short. This page was too long, so I folded it. Here's the house that Jack built and the house that Jill built. And that's the last page. It is a whopper. Look at that. I probably won't do one this big again, but I figured since I had the fabric cover and it had lots of room to expand, stuck a little feather in there, then I might as well fill it up. So you can tie it like this, or you can tie it again, however you like. Well, thank you for watching.